Wow, wow, wow. He looked at the requisition form on his desk. Garter belts. The nurses were demanding garter belts. In the middle of a global conflagration, with the Japanese Navy prowling the Solomon Slot and the fate of the free world hanging by a thread, his primary concern had become the structural integrity of hosiery. "You are the supply officer here," he barked as Lieutenant Elroy Carpenter entered. Carpenter was a man whose primary talent was looking busy while achieving a state of perfect stasis. If the nurses need garter belts, then you snap to it. "Shake a leg, Carpenter." "Oh, you know what I mean." Binghamton sighed, leaning back. "Everything is on my shoulders. The sinks in the Petty Officers Club are backing up. Tokyo Rose is probably laughing at us on the radio, and I'm expected to be a plumber, a strategist, and a fashion consultant all at once." But there was a darker cloud on the horizon. Rafferty was a man who ate broken glass for breakfast and had no sense of humor regarding the irregularities that seemed to follow Commander Quentin McHale and his crew of the PT-73 like a loyal, mangy dog. "Sir," Carpenter whispered, seeing the captain popping pills for his stomach acid. "Your indigestion. Take it easy. If you get sick, who will face the Admiral?" Binghamton's eyes narrowed. A slow, predatory smile spread across his face, one that didn't reach his eyes. "If I were truly ill, Elroy. If I were incapacitated, I could appoint an acting base commander, someone to take the brunt of Rafferty's iron-fisted wrath, not Julian. They'll destroy themselves right in front of the Admiral. It's brilliant. Absolutely brilliant." He collapsed onto his sofa, feigning a sudden, catastrophic seizure of the gut. "I look sick, don't I? Terribly sick. Call the medic. Carmen, hurry." As he lay there, orchestrating his own illness, Binghamton didn't realize that in the tropical heat of Taratupa, the line between a scheme and a tragedy was as thin as a silk stocking. Chapter 2. The Pirate Prince and the Nurse. On the far side of the island, where the jungle met the lagoon in a tangled embrace of mangroves and salt spray, Quentin McHale stood on the deck of the PT-73. He was a man carved out of teak and salt air. A saltwater skipper who felt more at home in the spray of a wake than behind a desk. He received the news of his promotion with a mixture of suspicion and a crooked grin. "Acting base commander?" McHale laughed, looking at his executive officer, Ensign Charles Parker. Parker was a nervous man, his uniform always a size too large, his heart always on his sleeve. "Wally must be dying if he's handing me the keys to the kingdom." "It's an honor, Skipper," Parker beamed, adjusting his glasses. But McHale's attention was diverted. Walking along the beach, her uniform crisp despite the humidity, was Lieutenant Molly Wilson. She was the head nurse, a woman with eyes the color of the deep Pacific and a spirit that hadn't been broken by the endless stream of wounded boys passing through her ward. Their romance was a secret kept in the quiet moments between air raids. It was written in shared cigarettes behind the mess hall and looks that lasted a second too long during morning briefings. "Commander," she said, her voice a cool breeze in the stagnant heat. "I heard the news. You're in charge now." "Only until Binghamton stops faking his stomachache," McHale replied, stepping off the boat onto the sand. "Which means we have exactly enough time to get into a world of trouble." "Be careful, Quentin," she whispered, her hand briefly brushing his. "Rafferty is a hard man. He doesn't see the humanity in this war. He only sees the regulations." "Regulations don't win wars, Molly." "People do," McHale said. But the people McHale commanded were currently busy. While McHale and Molly shared their brief moment of longing, the crew Gruber, Christie, and the rest were transforming the air raid shelter into something the Navy definitely hadn't authorized. They had found the garter belts. They had also found a group of local hula dancers and enough fermented fruit juice to power a battleship. The shindig was meant to be a celebration of McHale's command, but as the music started and the girls began to dance, the shadow of Iron Pants Rafferty's plane appeared in the sky like a bird of prey. Chapter 3. The Sultan and the Forbidden Dance. The arrival of the Sultan of Marami and his 3 daughters was supposed to be a diplomatic triumph. For Binghamton, it was a chance to claw back the dignity he had lost when he was caught running around in a seaman's uniform during the last inspection. The Sultan was a man of immense wealth and even greater pride. He traveled with a cargo of priceless jewels and daughters whose beauty was spoken of in hushed tones from Singapore to Sydney. "Wowie, wow, wow," Parker whispered as the princesses stepped onto the dock. "The next man who dares to debase the dignity of the princesses will answer to me," the Sultan thundered, his hand on the hilt of a ceremonial dagger. Mikhail, ever the diplomat of the docks, stepped forward. "Forgive my officer, Your Highness." In our country, wow is a word of profound spiritual respect. It's a ceremonial greeting. The Sultan relaxed slightly, but the tension remained, especially for Gruber, who had managed to strike up a clandestine conversation with Princess Siri. She was a woman trapped in a gilded cage of tradition, looking for a moment of freedom in the chaos of the war. "In my country, Siri means happiness," she whispered to Gruber as they stood on the deck of the PT-73 during a demonstration of the boat's capabilities. "In Brooklyn, it means I'm in big trouble," Gruber replied, captivated. The drama reached its peak at a formal dinner hosted by Binghamton. In an effort to impress the Sultan, Binghamton had arranged for an honor guard and a display of naval discipline. But Mikhail's crew had other plans. In an elaborate ruse involving disguises, hula skirts, and a misplaced sense of theater, the dinner devolved into a madcap chase. Inde, Selaji, Binghamton, convinced that one of the princesses was actually an impostor. Specifically, a member of Mikhail's crew, in drag, began pulling at the veils of the royal guests. "You phony Balinese bunny," Binghamton screamed, lunging at a princess. "You're under arrest." The Sultan stood, his face a mask of cold fury. "This outrage will be reported to the State Department. My daughters, insulted by a common infidel." As the Sultan stormed out, the dream of a diplomatic feather in Binghamton's cap went up in smoke. In the shadows, Molly watched Mikhail try to salvage the situation. She saw the wariness in his eyes, the exhaustion of playing a game where the rules changed every day. Chapter 4. The Ghost of the PT-13. Fear is a contagion in the jungle. It starts as a whisper and grows into a roar. When the crew discovered that the PT-73 had originally been commissioned as the PT-13, a jinxed boat that had lost 2 crews to mysterious explosions and phantom fires, the morale of the men shattered. "One hauka. In the CT, we're living on borrowed time," Christie said, staring at the darkened hull of the boat. "Friday the 13th is coming. The ghosts are restless." Binghamton, sensing an opportunity to finally break Mikhail, leaned into the superstition. He planted false reports and orchestrated hauntings, strange noises in the night, engines that started by themselves, and lights that flickered in the fog. But the joke turned into something more profound. On a dark night, as a thick mist rolled into the lagoon, the crew sat in the mess hall, paralyzed by the fear of the unknown. Mikhail stood before them. "There are no ghosts on this boat, except the ones we bring with us. The fear of not going home. The fear of losing the man next to you. Those are the spirits we have to fight." To prove his point, Mikhail took the boat out into the storm. He stood at the wheel, defying the lightning and the surging tide. It was an act of pure, romantic bravado. Molly stood on the shore, her heart in her throat, watching the small silhouette of the boat disappear into the grey wall of the rain. "He's a fool," Binghamton muttered, watching from his office. "He's a leader, sir," Carpenter replied, a rare note of genuine respect in his voice. When the 73 returned at dawn, battered but unsunk, the jinx was broken. But the experience had changed the men. They realized that the real danger wasn't a number or a ghost. It was the fragility of their own lives. Chapter 5. The New Caledonia Heist. The climax of their long, strange journey took place in the sophisticated, neon-lit streets of New Caledonia. The 73 had been sent to pick up the base payroll, $62,000 in small, unmarked bills. Binghamton had set a trap. He wanted the money to go missing. He wanted Mikhail to be the prime suspect in a grand larceny that would end his career and put him in a federal prison for the rest of his natural life. Parker, entrusted with the bag, found himself wandering down Saloon Road